Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined remotely from the Robservatory, the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
I am doing very fine on this Friday.
You know, I'm not the world's biggest baseball fan, but the World Series starts tonight.
It's a big day. Now, what's going on in your house?
It's
Everything's
tense.
good?
It's tense.
Tense.
I'm not
Okay.
going to lie to you. It's tense in my house.
Do you mind? Is there a possibility you'll get kicked out?
Well, let's put it this way. So Anne ordered a new, she has like 7 or 8 of them, but she ordered a new Dodgers jersey for this World Series to wear, right? And she's like, why did you not order a new Dodgers jersey? And I'm like, why would I do that? And
Oops.
yeah, the conversation, for those of you who don't know, my wife Ann is a major season ticket holding fan of the LA Dodgers. And I like the Dodgers too, I do. But the Toronto Blue Jays are in the World Series, the only Canadian team in Major League Baseball. So clearly my allegiances lie there. And so it's made things a little bit tense around the house. Not going to lie. Made things a little bit tense.
All right.
We'll see how it goes. I just have to, oh my God, Rob, do me a favor. If it looks like the Jays are about to win the game tonight, send me a text reminding me to keep my stupid ass mouth shut.
Okay.
Because if I get gloaty or if I say some smart ass thing, I very well could be sleeping in the van. So yeah, just be a very quiet, gracious winner. If the, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, I just gotta be
Well,
very
at least
careful.
you have the van.
At
So you
least
can
I
just
have
leave-
the van.
You
that I
have to
can
leave
go
the
out and
house
sleep
so you
in.
can go camp somewhere. It's good.
Yep. Just got to remember to keep my stupid ass mouth shut if the Jays do win. Okay. Anyway, guys, good to have you guys here. We've got a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about here today. So let's get things started off, shall we? And we're going to kick things off with this. The brand new Guillermo del Toro film, Frankenstein. His take on Frankenstein with Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, who I didn't even know was in the film, hit select theaters last night, and I went to go out to watch it. And let me give you my overall thing of it right off the top here, and then we'll get into some minutia. I was telling Rob this before we started the show. This might be my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie now. The guy who gave us The Shape of Water, the guy who gave us, obviously, Pan's Labyrinth. You know, Rob asked me, you asked me a little bit earlier, Rob, what was my favorite Guillermo del Toro film before this? And I said, same as everybody, Pan's Labyrinth, but I'm not ready to say, by the way, that this is definitively my favorite Guillermo del Toro film. You know me, I like to marinate on things for a while.
Sure.
Give me a month or so. I'll want to watch it a couple more times. But yeah, so yeah, Hellboy is a good one too. Pacific Rim is good too. Neither of them hold a candlestick though to Pan's Labyrinth. Anyway,
I know.
and I love those films. You know I love Hellboy. You know I love Pacific Rim. But come on, it's Pan's Labyrinth. Anyway,
Pacific Rim.
I was very. Why does it sound like Rob is whispering in my ear? I was very.
In your ear, Pacific Rim.
I was very interested in seeing what his approach was going to be on the film. Like what would be his overall thing? Because the trailers kind of suggested like almost a Blade kind of a movie in the sense that it would be like a monster film with action and stuff like that. And the reality is there's not much action in the movie. This is very much, and there is action, don't get me wrong. There is Frankenstein wrecking shop in a couple of scenes, but this is very much a character study movie. This is very much a movie about philosophy and bigger pictures about life and existence. And I gotta say, Oscar Isaac kills it in this movie as Victor Frankenstein. He does such a great job of making you not like him when you shouldn't like him, feel empathy for him when Guillermo wants us to feel empathy for him. And it's all brought to life by him. And by the way, I also got to mention Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster, was terrific in it. Like absolutely terrific. Mia Goth was great. But it's not even a movie about the bigger pictures of life. Because certainly in any movie about Frankenstein, you're asking questions about life and death and man's immortal quest to achieve immortality. And all that, and that stuff is definitely there. That's all there. But it's also a tale of morality, personal North Stars. When does the line between right and wrong become blurred? When does wrong become acceptable, and when is right not okay? And then ultimately quests for meaning and purpose, not just in Frankenstein's monster, but in the auxiliary characters that surround him as well. And by the end of the film, I felt like I went through a really thoughtful, beautiful journey. The movie is also shot gorgeously, Rob. Like I remember thinking at one point, like there were certain shots in the movie, I'm like, oh my God, Rob would love this. But I got to say this too. 100% I'm glad I saw this on the big screen. Because this movie, you're going to get 50% of the experience watching it on Netflix on your TV at home. This is a movie that truly needs to be seen on a big screen. So if you've got Frankenstein playing in a theater near you right now, because it is playing in a bunch across the country for a very short period of time, but I highly, highly, highly recommend getting out there and checking it out, because it just looks absolutely gorgeous. I will say though, it's not a perfect film. And I'm not going to go into the little tiny nitpicks here and there. There are a few nitpicks here and there throughout the film. But I got to say, and I won't give much detail, so I'll just give enough detail so you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie, but this will give you no concept of what's going on in the film. There are two significant major scenes in the film that are both predicated on where the hell did that come from? Like sort of things. And I'm not talking about something jumping out of the wall. Like I'm talking about something coming up, something being expressed that completely did not feel earned, completely did not feel established, and kind of felt inconsistent with almost everything else that either went on in the movie or just defied common sense. And again, it's two scenes that happens in. It did not at all do enough to kind of hijack my enjoyment of the film. Again, it might be my favorite Guillermo del Toro film. By the way, got to throw this in here too. Christoph Waltz, two-time Academy Award-winning actor. I didn't even know he was in the film. I don't know how that slipped under my radar. I don't even know how I didn't realize that, but Christoph Waltz is in the film, and once again, he delivers an incredible performance. It's definitely a smaller supporting role, but he's great as Victor Frankenstein's benefactor. He's fabulous in the film. So all the performances across the board were great. The cinematography was incredible. The visual effects were wonderful. The contemplation of the film is great. It's a wonderful character study. Rob, I will say this. I'm not 100% sure yet if I can call this my favorite Guillermo del Toro film of all time. It might be, but I can very easily say this is my favorite Frankenstein movie. And there have been a lot. But this is now my favorite Frankenstein movie.
Wow.
It was a little bit different than I thought it would be, but I ended up being completely engrossed in it, and I loved it. Anyway, Rob, I know you didn't get a chance to go see it yet, but where's your expectation level been for the film?
It's very, very high. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan, all the way back to the first time I saw Kronos. You know, he has a very distinctive voice, and sometimes, you know, really hits it's not necessarily studio populist voice, but it's definitely his voice. And even a movie like Crimson Peak, which I didn't love, that film is so sumptuous to look at that I bought it. You know, when I bought this big special edition from Arrow, and I put that movie on just to look at it, because the stylization and the things he does visually are absolutely astonishing. So I can't wait to go see this film. To me, the fact that it's getting the release it's getting, thank God, you know, and Netflix, this is Netflix, and this and Catherine Bigelow's House Full of Dynamite, which debuts on Netflix, both got theatrical releases. So they weren't
today, by the
hard.
way. It debuted. I think it dropped this morning. House of Dynamite. I
Oh,
think
did
that's
it
on
debut
Netflix. I
today?
think it just came
Okay.
out today. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it had the last 2 weeks it's been playing in the theaters, so kudos to Netflix for making this available, 'cause, I don't see how you can see a Guillermo del Toro movie not on the big screen. So I will be seeing this weekend, I can't wait. Yeah, yeah. I I love that. I love that.
I don't think I've ever seen like the way Warner Brothers will stylize the logo at the beginning and Paramount will stylize the logo. I don't think I've ever seen a Netflix film start where the logo is
Oh,
stylized.
really? Okay, that's
And
cool.
and
Don't
I
tell
won't
me.
say what it is, but as this movie starts, these visuals come on screen and it comes into form the Netflix logo that go along with the movie. And again, I'm not saying it's never been done. I'm just saying I've never seen a Netflix film do that before.
I'm
And I
excited, that's
thought,
cool.
and it makes me wonder, we've been seeing Netflix as much as they keep saying, methinks the lady dost protest too much. I think despite the fact that Netflix keeps saying, oh, no, 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 we're not really a theatrical company, they're experimenting more and more and more and more with
Yeah.
theaters. And they're doing more and more of these little things. So we won't get into the whole discussion about Netflix and theatrical again. But listen, guys, overall, I loved the new Guillermo del Toro film, Frankenstein. I thought it was great, but you owe it to yourself to see it in a movie theater. It's a much better experience that way. Again, I don't think it's perfect. I'm not quite ready to pronounce it as my favorite Guillermo del Toro film of all time, but I will tell you it's my favorite Frankenstein film of all time. Anyway, guys, did any of you see the film? If so, what did you think? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's jump into this, shall we? Well, we all know there is a rebooted Miami Vice movie coming from Joseph Kosinski, the
Oh,
guy
yeah.
who directed the hit film this year, F1, and of course, Top Gun Maverick. And it's coming, and ever since they announced it, there's been a lot of discussion. Now, the very first, Rob, I think you'll remember this. The first rumors that hit were, it's already cast Glenn Powell and Michael B. Jordan, which we said, whoa, we'll pump the brakes on that. I mean, both of
Right.
those would be great castings, of course, but don't buy anything quite yet. Well, now we're getting not one, but two legitimate reports, as it's now come out that first from Variety, Michael B. Jordan is actually in talks to star as Ricardo Tubbs in the Miami Vice film. But then, hot on the heels of that report, came another report that came out just before we started the show, which is Austin Butler. This comes us from Deadline and from the playlist, that Austin Butler is now in talks to be in the Joseph Kosinski reboot. Of course, he would be playing Crockett. Now, whenever stories like this come up, I always like to point out a couple things. Number one, in talks does not mean it's signed and done. However, in talks means they're at the final stages. Like once you get to the point that you're now negotiating a deal, that means the studio's gone through everybody they wanted to look at. It means that the actor in question has gone through all the hoops and said, yes, I want to be in it. And then it comes down to that last stage was, okay, then let's work out the details. Rob, I think it's fair to say that like 90% of the time or more, once an actor gets to that point in talks, it gets done. Like the one time I can really think of a high profile time that it didn't work out was when I think it was Joaquin Phoenix was in talks to play Doctor Strange before Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
That's the last high profile time I remember it actually getting that final stage and it not working out. I'm sure there have been others since then. So I think we're safe right now to have a discussion based on the notion that it looks like Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler are going to be our Crockett and Tubbs in the upcoming Miami Vice thing. Now look, Michael B. Jordan, from the moment they announced this film, he was the top of the fan casting for this. Like some people thought John David Washington. What's the name of the guy again who played Hawkman? Um,
But I
oh,
forget, but he's great. It's not
yeah,
Aaron Pierre. It's not Aaron.
not Aaron Pierre, though Aaron Pierre's name was thrown out there too. The guy who is just in the Along Came a Spider, Aldous Hodge. Thank you. Aldous Hodge was another really potentially great positive name, but Michael B. Jordan was the name that everybody was saying, right? Like that's the guy who's got to be your Tubbs. And every once in a while, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, the person at the top of the fan cast list does get it out. Now, of course, the other one was Glenn Powell. That was the other big name that everyone.
Yep.
And listen, Glenn Powell and Michael B. Jordan together on screen as Crockett and Tubbs. Sign me up. I'm there. I cannot wait to see Running Man, by the way. That movie is looking better and better. I cannot wait to watch that. But you know what? If it's not going to be Glenn Powell, Austin Butler's a pretty damn good choice. This guy's already a multi-time Academy Award nominated actor. This guy's going to have Oscars on his mantle by the time his career is done. He finds a way to elevate the material that isn't. Rob, I am still floored just how great he was in that Elvis film.
Oh, incredible.
Like, he did such a great job of embodying the character and bringing the character to life without ever feel like he was doing some cheap Las Vegas Elvis impersonation. He was just amazing in that. What was the one he just did with Matt Smith? Was that Caught Stealing?
Caught Stealing, which I saw, and he was really good. I didn't love the movie.
I didn't love the movie either.
He was great in it.
He was so good in it.
Yeah.
You know, another one that falls under that category is The Bike Riders.
Right.
I didn't end up loving the film, but that tells you a lot about how good an actor is. When you're even watching him in movies that you don't necessarily completely love, but you're just like, wow, that person was incredible. And then, of course, his performance in Dune.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh my
Spade
God.
Ralph. Yeah.
Oh, won't be the first time I've killed a family member.
I have to tell you though,
Oh.
the key to this, look, I don't understand why people don't love Michael Mann's Miami Vice, because I love it. The thing about Miami Vice is the performances of both Jamie Foxx, who's incredible, and of Colin Farrell as Sonny Crockett. They brought a certain bravura, sort of an attitude to the role. And both of those castings, I'm like, really? I loved them as Crockett and Tubbs. And I think that Michael B. Jordan, and I've loved Michael B. Jordan all the way back to The Wire and Friday Night Lights, he's got to bring something a little bit different. Because a lot of the time, you know, you're watching Michael B. Jordan, and he's Michael B. Jordan. He's got to bring some of that, what he did with Killmonger. You know, but turn what he did with Killmonger into Miami cool, whatever that is. Because Jamie Foxx, you know, there's Undercover and there's Which Way Is Up. I mean, Jamie Foxx was so good as Tubbs. I don't get why people don't love that movie. That movie's great. But I got to tell you, John, I am hugely excited for this movie. I mean, Kaczynski doing period Miami in the 80s. You know, going back to that neon pastel. I mean, I don't know if they're going to emulate the look.
By the way, I was going to ask, has anybody given any indication about what era it's going to take place in?
They've said, according to what I've read, it said it's going to be period.
So it will be set in the 80s.
Yeah, that's why.
See,
I'm like,
I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love that because, like, here's my thing. When Miami Vice came out, it was contemporary. Miami Vice is a today show. When it came out, it was contemporary to the day.
Yes.
I kind of feel like if you're doing a Miami Vice, it should be contemporary. And
Michael Mann's
the
movie
day.
was very contemporary too.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point though, there's a lot of style points you can get by doing it in the 80s.
My only problem is, you know, even Scarface, when Scarface came out in 1983, it was set in modern day Miami.
Yeah.
And there was something about the 80s vibe. The problem is if they're setting this in the 80s, it's going to be a recreated version of the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll be hyper stylized or something, but I think you're right. It was contemporary. That's a really interesting it's interesting because by going back in time, there's an authenticity that you don't get anymore. You know, you're recreating a period, even though Scarface was contemporary to when it was made, but it was definitely in a heightened reality, especially when you were seeing where Tony Montana wound up living. So I don't know. I mean, but Kaczynski, the way he shoots and his shot choices, all the way back to Tron Legacy and going into Top Gun, it's gonna look so cool, dude. And his music choices, you know, when he went on and did Oblivion, the bands he hires to do, he's gonna kill this movie. Kill it. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, here's what you do. You bring in Nine Inch Nails to do their version of the Jan Hammer. I can't believe I remember the name of the composer of the original Miami Vice. To do the original Jan Hammer Miami Vice theme, but done and adapted by Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go.
Or you get multiple people, because the Hans Zimmer score for F1 is pretty damn cool.
Oh, it's amazing.
And if Hans Zimmer, you think Hans Zimmer doesn't want to go back and redo Jan Hammer? Come on.
All right, guys. Question is for you. It now looks like we've got our cast, or at least our lead cast for Miami Vice. It looks like Austin Butler for Crockett and the wonderful Michael B. Jordan as Tubbs. I mean, listen, there's a lot of actor combinations you can do that I think would be fabulous. But this is definitely one of those combinations that would be incredible. What do you think about it? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to talk about this, shall we? You know, one of the big things in the headlines, and we've been talking a lot about it on the show, is the potential, it looks like inevitable takeover of Warner Brothers by either Paramount or Comcast or Netflix or Apple or whoever. Someone's going to be taking it over. But you know, Rob and I have always said on here, I mean, our first choice is that Warner Brothers not get taken over. We would much prefer to see Warner Brothers just continue to function, but it looks like it's an inevitability. Well, we're not the only ones who don't want to see it get taken over. Because according to this story in Variety, the Writers Guild of America is saying that Warner Brothers merger would be disastrous for writers. The article writes this. The Writers Guild of America came out swinging on Thursday against a merger between Warner Brothers and any other studio, saying such consolidation would be a quote-unquote disaster for writers. The statement comes 2 days after Warner Brothers says it's considering multiple offers. Paramount, freshly acquired by David Ellison Skydance, is the most eager suitor. Any deal involving another content producer would shrink the number of buyers in the market. They're not wrong about that. Merger after merger in the media industry has harmed workers, diminished competition and free speech, and wasted hundreds of billions of dollars better invested in organic growth, the WGA East and West said in a statement on Thursday. Combining Warner Brothers with Paramount or another major studio or streamer would be a disaster for writers, for consumers, and for competition. The WGA West and the WGA East will work with regulators to block the merger. All right. Now, the first thing I should mention here is, while the WGA is saying they're going to work with regulators to block the merger, they tried to do that with the Disney acquisition of 20th Century, and they failed. They also tried to do that with the merger between Amazon taking over MGM, and they failed. And I have very little doubt that they will fail here. That being said, there is not one thing, Rob. I have my lie detector up, and it's coming up empty on everything they just said in their statement.
100%.
Warner Brothers getting acquired by another studio will reduce the number of opportunities. It will reduce the number of working writers. It will reduce choice. It will give consumers less options. I mean, the only way Warner Brothers getting purchased can avoid those things is if an AT&T came along and bought them. But we saw what happened the last time when AT&T bought Warner Brothers, they ran that company into the ground. But like Kellogg's comes along to buy it. I don't know, Verizon comes along to buy it. Microsoft comes along to buy it. I mean, those are the only real types of options that would alleviate the worries of like the WGA. But unfortunately, you'd have to have a company that's not in the entertainment business that wants to be in the entertainment business. And the companies that want to be in the entertainment business are already in the entertainment business. And that's Apple, that's Amazon, that's Comcast, NBC Universal, that's Paramount, that's whatever. So, Rob, again, I agree with everything the WGA just said. I'm 100% in agreement with it. But I don't think them thinking that, and I don't think you and I, because I think you agree with everything they just said too.
I do.
Them thinking it and us agreeing with them isn't going to make any difference. I just don't see another suitor that wants to come along and probably drop in the neighborhood of $75 billion to acquire Warner Brothers unless they're already in the business. Because the reality is, Rob, a company like Paramount, a company like Apple TV Plus, a company like NBC Universal Comcast, Warner Brothers offers them more than another third-party company just coming in and wanting to get into the entertainment business. It doesn't offer as much value to one of those companies as it does to a company that's already in the space. So I 100% agree with them. I just don't see a way around it, though, unfortunately. Anyway, Rob, you read the statement. What do you think about what they said?
Well, look, like we just talked about, there's nothing that I disagree with in their statement. And we've been saying, ultimately, when you have one parent company controlling two studios, it's still one parent company, which means there's not as many places to take things. Just because Paramount and Warner Brothers might still exist as entities, you're still dealing with ultimately Larry and David Ellison. And that's bad for the business. And I think, though, that the problem with the entertainment business is not necessarily mergers. I think it's more of a problem with movies themselves. I think that we need to focus on the fact that the art of cinema is what should be looked after. The fact is, David Ellison loves movies, and Larry and David want to focus on I think making films. And on one hand, I just think that when you have people at the top that want to make something, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. Whereas when AT&T took over Warner Brothers, I was like, no. And it was a mess because you had a bunch of people that didn't know anything about movie making, taking over a studio to make movies. And a lot of yokels came in and started going, let's work on movies. And they didn't know anything about them. And it wasn't good for the studio. And clearly they weren't good for the studio. And that merger didn't last very long. At least the Ellison boys, father and son, and maybe they'll Megan Ellison will have
bring
Anna
their sister
in.
Yeah, bring the sister in.
Yeah. And who also loves films. And she actually, while didn't make a lot of money on her films, had great taste in terms of filmmakers she worked with.
Well, Annapurna put out some wonderful films.
Wonderful movie. That's what I mean.
For those you don't know what we're talking about, David Ellison's sister, also the beneficiary of Daddy Ellison's money, ran Annapurna. And they put out some absolutely wonderful films, absolutely fantastic films, to your point, Rob.
Yeah, and so, I mean, look, the state of the business is where it's at right now, and it's a mess. It's definitely going through a transition on every level. And I get what the WGA is saying, but at least they've kind of got the bankroll. They're in the business. They're not buying this stuff to break it up and sell it off. They're making, as we've said, great moves at Paramount. And I think if they do take over Warner Brothers, I think they're going to make great moves at Warner Brothers too. At least, fingers crossed. But
all right, guys.
Disagree with what the WGA said.
No, they're 100% right. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? The WGA just came out and slammed any potential idea about Warner Brothers not being sold, but being sold to an already existing studio. That's the thing they have an issue with. The problem is I don't see another player coming in, even though I completely agree with them. However you guys see this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? I have been a purebred cord cutter for well over a decade. I mean, I haven't had cable television in forever, but like a lot of cord cutters, I've had one last remaining umbilical cord to that cable world. And that has been one of the streaming suppliers. You know the ones I'm talking about. Sling TV, what's another one? The DirecTV service, Hulu Plus TV, or in my case, YouTube TV. I pay for YouTube TV so I can, tune in on the odd occasion that I want to watch live broadcast events. Here's the problem, though. YouTube TV's gotten really expensive.
Really expensive.
Really expensive. Like getting close to $100 a month. And I am realizing more and more the 97% of this time that I do turn on YouTube TV, which isn't often, is usually to watch live sports. Normally on ESPN. But in yet another carriage battle coming, this report in CNBC, Disney is now warning that ESPN and their other networks may go out on YouTube TV at the end of the month. The article goes on to say this. As I get down to the actual article. There it is. In just a month after reaching an agreement with NBC Universal to avoid dropping its networks, YouTube TV has another potential blackout on its hands, this time with Disney. Disney said Thursday that it would begin running public messages for YouTube TV subscribers, they did, to alert customers that the company's networks, including ABC and ESPN, will be dropped from the service if the two sides can't reach a new distribution agreement, which expires a week from now, October 30th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. This is the latest example of Google exploiting its position at the expense of their own customers, a Disney spokesperson said in a statement. If we don't reach a fair deal soon, YouTube TV customers will lose access to ESPN and ABC and all our marquee programming, including the NFL, college football, NBA, NHL seasons, and so much more, and so on and so forth. So look, this sort of a fight between YouTube TV and some kind of provider is not new. We've seen this happen before. Like the article just mentioned, we just had one with Comcast, NBC, Universal's networks. They finally got a deal done there. And I suspect a deal will get done now between Disney and YouTube TV. But there's a couple of really funny things at play here that make this interesting. Number one is the fact that ESPN now has its own, that they're putting a lot of energy and effort, this new big standalone service that they're doing, Rob. I think, Rob, you've seen this, that they've been advertising this. They desperately really want to push people to that dedicated service.
Yes, they do. And I get it.
Yeah. So they're in a position where they don't need YouTube TV as much as they think YouTube TV needs them. And to that point, that brings up the second observation here, Rob. If ESPN isn't on YouTube TV, why do I have YouTube TV? And again, I'm just speaking for myself here, guys. Like, you may all have different viewing patterns. But for me, on the rare occasion that I do open YouTube TV, 90 to 97% of the time that I'm opening YouTube TV is just to watch live sports. Anything else that I could watch on there, I usually watch on one of the streaming networks, one of the streaming providers. Like Chicago PD. Chicago PD is a show that I watch. Ask me the last time I actually turned on NBC to watch Chicago PD. I don't think I ever have once in my life. And I've been watching this show for years. Every time I've watched Chicago PD, it's either been on Hulu or it's been on the Peacock app. That's where I've watched it. I don't watch it on live on cable via YouTube TV. I just don't. And I don't think I'm alone. I think there are probably a lot of people like me. Not everybody's a sports fan, granted, but I think there are a lot of people who are like me, Rob, in the sense that the only reason I have YouTube TV is for ESPN. And with it getting more and more expensive, if they lose ESPN, not even to mention, ABC and the other stuff, which I never watch ABC stuff either on there, because I'll either watch that on Hulu afterwards or whatever. But I have to question, Rob, why am I paying almost $100 a month for something I hardly ever watch, and you're taking away or losing the thing that on the rare occasion I watch for? So I don't know, Rob, you've seen this situation unfolding here. What's your take on it?
Well, look, everybody wants to get money. And I too, like, I look at YouTube TV and every time it subtracts what, $75 from my account, I'm like, what am I
Oh,
paying
it's
for?
more than that now. It's
Yeah,
more than that now.
I mean, I look at this and I think I don't use it nearly enough to justify this expense. And I think that and John, you and I work for YouTube. I mean, you think that they would give us a little advantage, maybe a little discount, huh? Creating programming, but no. I again, I feel that wherever you turn, everybody wants their exclusivity and everybody wants that sweet subscription cheddar because they can use those numbers to borrow money, they can use those numbers to get investment. I mean, every time you subscribe to something, you're giving a company something. You're giving your subscription dollars, your guarantee. They use that as a guarantee to show other people, look at how much money we're making. And I feel that what do we get back for that? Sure, we get to watch things, but that's a lot of money that we're giving to people. And like you said, you want to watch ESPN, and that at the same time, if is their dedicated version of that going to be better than YouTube TV? You want to go to the best place possible. And how do you know? Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a consumer, a consumer protection bureau. There needs to be a place where we can go look, what should you do? What should we do as consumers? Where should we put our dollars? If you want to watch sports, where's the best deal? I don't know. I just know that lots of money gets taken out of my account
You
more
know,
every day.
I have several financial principles I live by. You know,
Which
never
I
buy,
know.
yeah, I never buy anything on credit. I have this rule for myself. I made a video about it once. If I can't buy something straight up in cash, that means I can't afford it and I don't get it. That
Right.
includes computers I get. That includes a car when I buy a car. If I can't pay for it straight up and outright in cash, that means I can't afford it and I don't get it. I have certain financial principles I live by. One of the financial principles I try to live by is this: spend your money on the things you use the most
Mhm.
and try to limit the money on the things you use the least. So that's often, Rob, why I say, like, when we get into the discussion about the cost of Netflix or the cost of HBO Max, I always start off those conversations saying, hey, listen, how much Netflix costs is actually still a good value proposition. You want to know why? Because for under $20 a month, I spend a hell of a lot of hours every month watching it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't
100%.
mind spending my money on something I'm using a lot of. But Netflix is around $20 and I watch it, Rob. I don't think it's hyperbole to say I watch Netflix 10, 15 times more than I watch YouTube TV. And yet I'm spending 4 times as much on YouTube TV. And I just have to start asking myself the question, am I spending my money on the things that I use the most? And clearly the
100%.
answer is no. So I don't know that I've been a YouTube TV customer for a long time, but I don't think it's long for my world much longer. I think I'm going to have to dump it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of this little story about the fact that Disney is saying they may be pulling ESPN off YouTube TV Plus? And for those of you that do use YouTube TV, is it even still worth having it? Even if ESPN is still on their service, is it worth having anymore? I simply don't use it enough. I'm not saying it's a bad service. I'm not saying it's a bad service at all. As a matter of fact, YouTube TV is a great service. But for how much it costs and for how much I actually use it, that ratio seems really out of whack. I don't know, guys. However you feel about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we haven't done this in a couple of days, so we're going to play ourselves a little round of overreaction. The way this works is, a little bit earlier today, we went over and we asked you guys in our community tab to submit some of your hot takes. And Rob and I will simply adjudicate whether we think what you're telling us is an overreaction or not. So let's get things kicked off here. I'll start us off, Rob, this time around. And we're going to go over to
Uh-oh.
Colin Ray, who writes, Thunderbolts is not only the best MCU movie in post-Endgame, but is a top 5 MCU movie. All right. Listen, I loved Thunderbolts. I thought it was great. As a matter of fact, I will say, as much as I love Superman, and I did love Superman, I think Thunderbolts was the best comic book movie of the year. I thought it was terrific. However, saying it's the best post-Endgame movie in a world where there was a couple of Spider-Man movies that were both pretty damn good, not to mention Shang-Chi, which I still kind of think is the best MCU movie post, and calling it a top 5. Again, I love Thunderbolts, but is it up there with Civil War? Is it up there with Winter Soldier? Is it up there with Infinity War? Is it up there with, you know what? I love Thunderbolts. I did, but I'm going to say that that's an overreaction. Rob, what about you?
I got to go with the overreaction myself, John. I mean, with 4 Avengers movies, Captain America, Winter Soldier, that's 5 movies right there that I think are better than Thunderbolts. And I really like Thunderbolts, but I think that it is definitely an overreaction. But here's the thing. Because of the subject matter of what Thunderbolts was dealing with, I think it hit some people hard and very personally because they could relate to it.
Yeah.
I think that dealing with those whether it was past trauma or current trauma, I think that film really spoke to people personally in a way that superhero movies don't usually do so. But in terms of the overall film going experience, I mean, I go back, I watch Winter Soldier and I'm like, that movie is wildly entertaining on a level that I think is above Thunderbolts, only because Thunderbolts is a pretty small, contained film, really. Whereas I prefer the sprawling, globe-trotting nature or large scale thrills of bigger MCU movies. But I don't want to take away from anybody that loves Thunderbolts.
Yeah, again, I love it. I absolutely loved it,
I
but
do too.
it's not top 5. It's not top 5, and it's not the best since that. But anyway, that's our take. Anyway, all right, let's move on here. Rob, we'll go over to you here.
All right, I'm ready. Ready.
This one came to us from Garrett Smith, who's saying K-pop Demon Hunters will be nominated for Best Picture, not just Best Animated Film. Overreaction or not an overreaction?
I don't think there could be a bigger overreaction. My answer is no. This is a tremendous overreaction. And look, I would love it if somebody made a K-pop Demon Hunters movie that was worthy of being called Best Picture of the Year. I think K-pop Demon Hunters was a great deal of fun, but there ain't no way under God's green earth we have a better chance of I don't know, monkeys flying out of my ass than K-pop Demon Hunters getting nominated for Best Picture. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I got to go with you on this. This is a massive overreaction. I mean, look, and I am saying this as a guy who is unapologetically, absolutely obsessed with the soundtrack of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
I am not going to lie. I was watching more reaction videos to some of the songs in K-pop Demon Hunters. It's a movie that I legitimately think it's a small percentage chance, but there's an outside chance that 3 songs from that movie could get nominated for Best Song.
Uh-huh.
I definitely think there's a more than a 50% chance that 2 of them could get nominated. And I think it's a 100% foregone conclusion that at least 1 will get nominated. I mean, Golden, This Is What It Sounds Like, and Your Idol are all songs that could be nominated for Best Song this year. I love them. I'm obsessed with it. But the movie's not that good. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's trash. I'm not saying it's garbage. I'm not saying any of that. But it's simply, as a movie overall, it's just not that good. I'm not even 100% sure. Here's a hot take, Rob. I'm not 100% sure it gets nominated for Best Animated Film either. I think it's definitely got a shot. But it's no chance in hell could or should K-pop Demon Hunter be nominated for Best Picture. No
No.
chance. So I'm going to go with you on that, Rob, and call it an overreaction. All right. Let's get on to the next one here, shall we? This next one comes to us from Chris Short, who writes, The Hunt for Gollum will be better than all of the Hobbit movie trilogy. Ooh. You know what? Obviously, we will not know until we see some stuff from it, right? Obviously, we won't know. But I'm not going to call that an overreaction. Listen, I think the Hobbit films are better than people remember, but they're a far cry from the quality of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know? And so while I think those movies are good, the third one was very... You know what my big problem... I said this before, Rob, you know what my big problem with the third film was? The third film, when you're doing a franchise, every movie has to be have its own beginning, middle, and end. Setup, establishment, resolution, right? The third Hobbit film, I think it was called The Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah.
The third Hobbit film just felt all like a third act.
Yeah.
It just all felt like it felt like all resolution, and it didn't feel like its own movie. And Fellowship of the Ring did, Two Towers did, Return of the King did. That last one did. That all being said, the point is that while I think the Hobbit movies are better than people give it credit for, they're not fantastic. And with Peter Jackson being a lot more refreshed, having had a long layoff from anything in Middle-earth, now coming back and like writing and producing this thing, you've got one of his second unit directors, and Andy Serkis actually directing the film, and I think he's a very good director in his own right. Again, we won't know until we see it, but I don't think it's an overreaction right now to say that it very well could be better than the Hobbit trilogy. So I'm going to say no, not an overreaction. Rob, what about you?
Well, I'm going to say he said will be, not could be. You just said could be. And I agree with could be is true. But the thing about the Hobbit movies, I think that there are two Peter Jacksons. There's the Peter Jackson who directed Heavenly Creatures, and there's the Peter Jackson who directed The Frighteners. And it was the Heavenly Creatures Peter Jackson who directed Lord of the Rings. And it was the Frighteners Peter Jackson who directed the Hobbit movies. And it's a tonal issue. Remember, I mean, Peter Jackson made Bad Taste and the X-rated puppet movie Meet the Feebles and Brain Dead when he was younger. And that to me was where he went with the Hobbit. Now, with The Hunt for Gollum, if he had said could be better, I would have said it's not an overreaction, but he said will be better. So I've got to, it's that semantics. But I think that yes, with Andy Serkis directing, there's a possibility. For me, John, it's always tonal. You know, with Lord of the Rings, the end of the world is nigh. You know, you have Sauron he's going to destroy Middle-earth and everything our characters are fighting for. That's not the case with the Hobbits. So there's a lot of goofiness. There's a lot of the Hobbits are playing around. You don't have that overarching, if we don't get to the crack of doom, everything is doomed. And I think that with the Hobbit, but the Hunt for Gollum can be more in that Lord of the Rings universe. It can have that more oppressive, the world is coming to an end feel. So tonally, I think it's more of what people want from the Lord of the Rings. So
all right,
it could be, but not will be.
Okay.
So it's a bit of an overreaction.
Let's go on to the next one. Rob, we'll start this one off with you.
Uh-oh.
As it is being asked by Avatar Enthusiast, who writes, Toy Story 5 will be the highest grossing Toy Story movie ever. Overreaction or not, Rob?
Well, see, again, there's that word will be, but here's the thing. It is just a statement. I think that Toy Story 5, again, it could be. Because, I mean, if you think about it, more people have seen Toy Story movies now than ever before. The people that are alive on the world today have seen the Toy Story films, and there hasn't been one. Toy Story 4 was okay. It wasn't the greatest. But if they nail Toy Story 5, and they nail it, it becomes like a Top Gun Maverick phenom, I think it could. It could be the biggest grossing. So I don't think it's an overreaction.
I'm going to go overreaction. I'm going to go overreaction. And the reason I'm going to say overreaction is there's two primary reasons. Number one, I'll defend Toy Story 4 forever.
Yeah.
I think it's the least good of the 4 Toy Story movies. Like, definitely the other 3 are above it, but I still thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But it was the least good of the 4. So the momentum is diminished. Like, coming off of Toy Story 3, which I think was the best of the Toy Story movies. Coming off of Toy Story 3, you had a lot of hot momentum. Everybody, I believe it was a Best Picture nominee, right? Toy Story 3 got nominated not just for Best Animated Film, it got nominated for Best Picture. And it deserved it. So you had that. 4 did not live up to that standard. But even more importantly, there are fewer people that go to the movies today.
That's true.
Than they did pre-pandemic. You know, some places put it at 20 to 25% fewer people go to the movies today than used to go. So you've got that combination of Toy Story 4, while still very good, lost momentum for it, and it took some of the sheen off. And the fact that there are few people going to the movies today. You put those two things together, and I think it's an overreaction to even hope that Toy Story 5 will be in the $1 billion club. I just don't see. I think it can be successful. I think it can be great, but I don't see it being in the $1 billion club. So I'm going to call it an overreaction. All right. We got 2 more to get to. So I'll pick things up here with Danito, who writes, 2026 will be the biggest year of the box office since before the pandemic. I'm going to tell you right now, that is not an overreaction.
Totally agree.
Not an overreaction.
Nope.
Now, of course, we can't say anything with certainty, but some of the films coming out in 2026. Jumanji 4. That's been a franchise that's flirted with the $1 billion mark. So Jumanji 4 is supposed to come out at the end of December. I believe that's still what's coming out. The live action Moana. Dune 3 is coming out. Minions 3. The Odyssey. Toy Story 5. The Mario Brothers Part 2. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh, and a little film called Avengers Doomsday. I don't know how big it'll be. And certainly, Rob, I think there are going to be a couple of these films that underperform. Like I just gave this great list. A couple of them are bound to underperform. It's the law of averages. But I would be shocked, Rob. I will be shocked if we get to the end of 2026 and it does not end up being the biggest box office year since the pandemic. I think it's a foregone conclusion. So I'm going to say that's not an overreaction at all. Rob,
did you say Project Hail Mary and Steven Spielberg's new movie too?
Nope, I didn't even mention those two.
I think it's absolutely not an overreaction. As a matter of fact, I think if I were a betting man and you could go put money down on this in Vegas, the odds probably wouldn't be very good. But if you could,
I guarantee you can go to Vegas and put money on this. The sports books have lines for everything.
I would put money down that is going to be the case. As a matter of fact, I don't see how it can't be. And I would go even further to say that it might be one of the biggest grossing years ever.
Really? Like, even like pre-pandemic as well?
Yeah. Simply because of the level and the amount of heavy hitters.
That's true. That's
true.
I
I mean, and I would dare say maybe the year could have the most billion-dollar grossing movies ever, even though that's a tall order.
Well, I mean, let me go down this list again. So these are the ones that I think, a couple of these are guaranteed, but here's the, I think, oh no, my headphones just ran out of battery.
Uh-oh.
Yep. So I'll just have to continue the show sans headphones. So forgive me if I lose my place here a bit, but there are a couple of these that are guaranteed, but here are the ones that at least have the potential to be $1 billion films. Okay. Obviously Avengers Doomsday, that's one potential $1 billion film. It certainly will be, but Spider-Man Brand New Day is absolutely a potential $1 billion film. Because the last one almost made $2 billion. Super Mario Brothers movie, the last one made 1.3. So it's a potential Toy Story 5, I don't think it'll be a billion-dollar film, but absolutely has potential. The Odyssey has the potential to be a billion-dollar film. The last Christopher Nolan film was a period piece biopic, and it nearly made $1 billion. Now it's a fantasy film. Minions, definitely, that's 6. I don't think Dune Messiah has potential to be a billion-dollar film, so I'll leave that one off. Moana live action absolutely has the potential to be a billion. So Rob, right there, I've got 7. I'm listing 7 potential billion-dollar films. Now that wouldn't break the record because I think the record is 9.
It's 9 from 2019.
Yeah, so it won't break the record, but there's a lot of potential there. Am I missing? Oh, and I left off Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, and whatever else that we don't know. But I would say that
yeah, you're right, because we got to leave room for something to come out of the nowhere and surprise us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And it's tough because 2019 did have Avengers Endgame. But I do think that it's going to be a banger of a year, so it's not an overreaction. And I have to say this too. What an exciting year for movies. I mean, 2026, like I said, I choose to be excited. It's now a lifestyle choice I've made to be excited for Avengers Endgame. And but the rest of the year, is really interesting, especially for big budget Hollywood spectaculars and sequels and even original films based on novels like Project Hail Mary, which I can't wait to see.
All right. Let's get on to our last overreaction scenario here, shall we? We'll start off with Rob on this.
Uh-oh.
And Rob, is this an overreaction? Super Bear 19 writes in, Disney lost a lot of money for not releasing parts of Andor Season 2 in theaters like Netflix is doing with the Stranger Things finale. Is that an overreaction or not?
I think it is an overreaction because, look, you and I would have gone to a theater to see Andor.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Andor has nearly the populist appeal of Stranger Things, and it certainly didn't have the younger audience the way Stranger Things does. So I think it's an overreaction.
Listen, I'll tell you what. It's an absolute overreaction. Look, I think Andor Season 2 is one of the best seasons of television we've had in years. Yeah. It was amazing. But Stranger Things has been around for over a decade. It's been a part of the pop cultural landscape for years and years and years.
People have grown up with it, a generation.
People have absolutely grown up with it, right? It's been around forever, and now it's concluding this. Let's face it, Stranger Things, it doesn't matter if you're a huge fan of the show or not, you got to acknowledge Stranger Things is going to be a part of the TV zeitgeist for a long, long time. And it's coming to an end. This series that a lot of people have grown up with and had this long, long journey on and has been around for years and years and years and years. And now they're going to put the finale in theaters. And I think that's a good move. Andor isn't the same as that. Andor literally just had a second season and it was great. But like to Rob's point, it doesn't have the same viewership that, say, Stranger Things has built up over the years. It doesn't have that same place historically because it hasn't been around nearly as long as Stranger Things has. So, like Rob said, I think you and I, Rob, would definitely both have gone to be there and gotten in line to watch Andor on the big screen. But not as many people as will be doing that for Stranger Things. So no, I don't. I think it's an overreaction to say Disney missed out on anything there. And all right, guys, that will wrap up today's little session of overreaction. Thank you so much to everybody who sent in those scenarios, and keep your guys' eyes open when we put out a call for the next round of those questions. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. You know, with the DCU having been launched to great success with Peacemaker, obviously Superman was a huge success for them and continues to be a big success for them. And we've got things like Supergirl coming out. We got Lanterns coming out that we're all really excited about. We got that Mike Flanagan written Clayface movie coming that we're excited about. All eyes are on Batman. Everybody's wondering, when are we going to get our hint of Batman? When are we going to get some news about Batman? When are we going to find out who's Batman? Hell, even though they announced a long time ago that Andy Muschietti was going to be directing the Batman film, a lot of us have had questions about whether that's still the case or not. Well, it sounds like not only is Andy Muschietti still directing this film, it sounds like we're on the cusp of getting the official announcement for the film as well. This comes to us from comicbook.com. That writes this. During an interview, and I don't know why this blew up the way that it did. Give me a moment here to fix this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Okay, there we go. During an interview with Variety for their upcoming horror series, It, Welcome to Derry. By the way, I'm going to check out that. I think it comes out on Sunday. I'm looking forward to checking that out. Director Andy Muschietti and his sister and producing partner, Barbara Muschietti, were asked about the progress of The Brave and the Bold. That's the new Batman film. Barbara gave a dismissive reply stating, "The intention is for Andy to direct it, yes, but we can't talk about it." Her brother then elaborated with a more revealing timeline. He said, "We have to wait a couple of months to start talking about it," Andy Muschietti added, before quickly realizing a mistake and admitting, "I just screwed it already." So maybe a little bit of Tom Holland there in Andy Muschietti. All right. So while there is nothing explicitly said here, and I think that's important to point out and acknowledge, there's nothing explicitly stated. Rob, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I come away with two things from this. Number one, Andy Muschietti is still the director of the film, which I'm totally good with because I like just about every film he's done. And even though, listen, there's a lot of people who poo-poo on the Flash film and it was an absolute box office flop, I thought the movie was really fun. I had a great time with that movie.
Me too.
Definitely not one of the greatest comic book films of all time, like maybe David Zaslav suggested it might be. But it was really fun, and I don't care. I'll defend that movie forever. I thought it was a lot of fun. And his other films, the rest of the films in his filmography are all really good. So I'm okay with it, although I've questioned over the last year whether he's still going to be attached to it because there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between Andy Muschietti and James Gunn. And I don't know, maybe that's been solved, maybe that's been figured out, but whatever. But the sister's saying, okay, yes, Andy's still directing it, but we can't say anything. So that's the first thing I take away from it is that Andy is still directing this film. And I'm okay with that. The second thing is it sounds like they've got a big announcement planned.
Yeah.
Because you don't say things like, oh, we got to sit on this for another couple months when you're just talking about when we can start even just discussing it in the press. It sounds like they've got an announcement that they've got packaged and ready to go. And maybe he wants to wait a few months for it to piggyback on something else, the buzz or whatever of it. But it sounds like they've got an announcement lined up. Listen, I personally believe they do have their Batman cast. I could be wrong about that. I don't have any insider people telling me that's the case and that they've got them cast already. But I personally believe they probably got their Batman cast already. I think we're going to get release dates mentioned, like timelines and production lines and all that kind of stuff. I believe they've got a script finished. Again, I can't say any of this with definitive fact. This is just what I, as a film fan, am kind of speculating. But it sounds like this thing is fully on the track. So not only do we have Lanterns coming and Supergirl and Clayface, it sounds like also, and by the way, Man of Tomorrow is also now coming. It sounds like we might finally be getting some movement on this Batman thing, and it sounds like Andy Muschietti just kind of let it slip. Anyway, Rob, you read these comments. What are the things that you took away from it? Do you agree with how I saw it? Do you have a different perspective? How did you see it?
I agree with you. Look, they've been planning. Look, as James Gunn has explained over and over again, if they have a good script, they'll move forward on things. And they know they have a plan. There's no reason why they can't go ahead and cast these characters knowing they're going to make a movie. And Andy Muschietti's been attached to this from the beginning. So there's no reason to think that they haven't been moving forward in some way, shape, or form. So I agree with you. I think he will be directing. I think they know what's going to go on. And I think they are going to make a big announcement because I would imagine, I mean, they did introduce Supergirl in a bit cameo at the end of Superman. Who's to say that in the Clayface movie, there's not some connection to Batman, or maybe just Bruce Wayne shows up? I don't know, but it's supposed to be a connected universe. I mean, Lex Luthor had a cameo in Peacemaker. You never know. I think they know what they're doing, and it wouldn't surprise me to hear an announcement just like you said, in a couple of months, maybe during Lanterns, who knows?
Um, Andy Muschietti situation. We've talked a lot about it. How do you feel? Are you surprised to hear Muschietti kind of suggest that, yeah, he's still the director? Like, I have to admit, while I'm okay with it, I am a little surprised to hear that he is still. I fully expected to hear that another director was going to be coming in. So, were you surprised by that? And how do you feel about Muschietti still being the director of Brave and the Bold? Do you still feel good with it, or how are you feeling?
I do, because like you said, I've liked his movies. And look, we saw Flash at CinemaCon, and it still boggles my mind about I think Flash. I wish nobody had said anything about Flash. I wish James Gunn didn't say anything about Flash. I wish Tom Cruise didn't say anything about Flash. That they would just allow, and I wish that we at CinemaCon didn't come out raving about Flash, because I think Flash was kind of done dirty in the court of public opinion. Um, I've watched that movie. I bought the 4K disc. I've watched it a number of times. I really enjoy it. I love seeing Michael Keaton. I love Sasha Callie as Supergirl. I thought she was amazing. And I don't know what's not to love with that film. And yet it's hated, I think unfairly. So it doesn't surprise me that they retained Andy Muschietti, because he's a good director.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you make of the stuff that we're finding out in this article? Number one, that Andy Muschietti is still directing. Again, I'm perfectly fine with that. A little surprised, though. But also, what do you think we're going to get in this announcement that's coming in a couple of months? I think we're going to get like the full package reveal. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we got to do two things. First, we got to bid good afternoon to Robert Meyer Burnett. Rob, great job as always, my friend. I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
You too. Everybody have a great weekend, and go see some movies in the theater this weekend. There's a lot
go
to
see Frankenstein. And of course, the second thing we need to do is to take a quick moment here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Zapier. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Zapier. You know, one of the biggest game changers of the past year has been AI. But let's be real, just talking about AI doesn't actually make your day any more productive. What does make it more productive is finding tools to put AI to work for you. And that's where Zapier comes in. Zapier is the easiest way to take AI and plug it directly into the apps and processes that you're already using every day. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, just results. For me, it's been about saving time on repetitive stuff so I can focus on the work that matters and I actually enjoy. And it's not just me. Over 3.4 million companies are already using Zapier to streamline everything from sales and marketing to IT and HR. With their AI orchestration platform, you can connect top AI models like ChatGPT or Claude right into the apps you already use. So whether it's automatically enriching leads, coaching your sales team, or even resolving IT tickets, Zapier makes it simple. Guys, join the 3.4 million companies already automating with Zapier and transform how you work with Zapier and AI. Get started for free by visiting zapier.com/Campea. That's zapier.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Zapier for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over and start taking some questions that you guys have been sending. And by the way, if you guys have questions or topics or issues or observations or theories that you'd like us to address on the show, go ahead and use our tip link. You can find the link down in the description of the video. That's simply at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. You can send those in, and the tip link is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you've got a question, as long as we think it's appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on in, and maybe you'll see us answering it here. All right. Let's get over to the questions here, shall we? We're going to start off with Overreaction Watch, who writes, have you seen the trailer for Pluribus? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. From Vince Gilligan on Apple TV Plus. Looks interesting. All right. I'm going to give a hot take here. I didn't think it was a good trailer at all. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was a bad trailer. And I'm going to say the same thing I've said about a couple of others, including the One Battle After Another trailer. Because I'm sorry, the first One Battle After Another trailer is not good. Not good. And I remember after I saw that first trailer, I said the only reason people are saying, oh my God, that trailer's so good, is because the name Paul Thomas Anderson was on it. I said, if the name Paul Thomas Anderson wasn't on that trailer, you guys would not be talking about this trailer. And I'm sorry. But this Vince, if the from the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, if Vince Gilligan's name was not on this trailer, nobody would be talking about it. It's not a good trailer by any stretch. Now, am I interested in the show? Of course I am. It's a Vince Gilligan show. I'm 100% interested in the show. But just because I'm interested in the show and that I think the show will be good, doesn't mean I'm going to say the trailer was good, because the trailer was not good. It does not do anything that a trailer should do and accomplish what it should accomplish. And again, I think if it wasn't Vince Gilligan's name on it, nobody would be talking about it. So yeah, I didn't think it was a good trailer. I think the show will be great, and I can't wait to watch the show. But I don't think the trailer was very good at all. But that's just my opinion. All right. Next up, we've got Give Me the Lamp Boy, who writes, hey man, love your channel. I listened to your old episodes from years ago at work to hear your old takes, and it's funny that the jokes you guys got going on still to this day. Are you expecting any scenes of Oa in the Lantern series? Thanks, crew. You know, we were just talking about that the other day. Look, obviously we don't know. I think Lanterns being a true detective style show, I think it's going to be a lot more grounded, even though it's a Green Lantern series. But Rob brought up the point that this is, even though we've met Guy Gardner, we haven't really been introduced to the whole concept of the Lantern Corps. And I think that is something they're going to do with this show. And I don't think you can really introduce the Lantern Corps without having some kind of establishment on Oa. So while I don't think Oa is going to play a big role in the series, I do expect at least a couple of scenes there or some shots from there. So yeah, I do expect it to play a role, just maybe not a huge one. All right, next up, we've got Schmodown Fan. I missed the Schmodown. Writes, hey John, in a happy, sad, confused panel at New York City Comic-Con, Josh Horowitz had Lawrence Fishburne and Joey Pants talking about The Matrix. At the end, Josh asked Fishburne about dream roles, and he said Professor X. Well, he's Bill Foster already, but wouldn't that be great? Listen, if they announce tomorrow that Lawrence Fishburne was going to be the MCU version of Professor X moving forward, I'd be totally happy with it. I just want a great actor. That's all I care about. I don't care if it's Mark Strong. I don't care if it's Bryan Cranston. I don't care if it's Lawrence Fishburne. I just want a great actor playing it. When you know the background of the character of Charles Xavier, you know his ethnicity doesn't matter. His ethnicity is not an important part of the character. So he could be whatever ethnicity. So, yeah, listen, I'm not going to say that Lawrence Fishburne is the guy to play it. But I'd say he's one of the names that if they announced him tomorrow, he's a marvelous actor, so I'd be good with it. I'd be excited about it. Now, yes, somebody's saying he was an Ant-Man. Rather than me saying he was an Ant-Man already, so he's already in the MCU. But what is the state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie going to be after Secret Wars? Because remember, Patrick Stewart is going to be Charles Xavier in this whole Doomsday Secret Wars combination of movie. But then a lot of us are expecting some kind of a reset, whether it's a hard reset, a semi-reset, a halfway reset, whatever. We're expecting kind of a reset going past Secret Wars. And at that point, a guy like Lawrence Fishburne totally comes in play. Remember, Gemma Chan she played two different characters in the MCU. We've had a couple of people play two different characters. So, but again, it's the key point is it all depends on what the status of the MCU is after Secret Wars, and we won't really know what that is until it actually happens. All right, next up, we've got Super Nintendo Chalmers writes, which is more likely, Wicked for Good or Dune Messiah changing endings? Dune Messiah. We've already seen Denis Villeneuve make massive changes from the Dune books. Like, just look at the ending of Dune 2. Totally different from the ending of Dune, the book. So I think it is a much higher likelihood. Nothing's guaranteed, but I think it's a much higher likelihood that Dune 3 changes its ending. All right, next up. Lawrence writes, as long as Paramount or Netflix doesn't dissolve Warner Brothers, I'm good with it. Like how Disney bought Fox, but Fox still exists, 20th Century exists. They just wanted their IP for Disney. Yeah, here's the thing. They've already said, how do I put this? If Paramount gets Warner Brothers, they're going to absorb it all into one company. That's happening. Now, they might call it Paramount Warner Brothers or Warner Brothers Paramount or something like that, but they're going to merge it into the company. Like when Disney bought out 20th Century, they didn't buy it and merge it into Disney. It just became one of their companies. Like Lucasfilm is one of their companies, like Marvel is one of their companies, like Pixar is one of their companies. It just became another one of their companies. That's not what's going to happen with the Paramount one. Paramount's going to buy it and merge it in. And then maybe, again, like I said, maybe the company gets called Warner Paramount or Paramount Warner or Warnamount or Paramount Brothers or whatever, but it is going to kind of lose its individuality. And that could be a good or a bad thing, but we'll see. All right. Next up. That was Lawrence. We got Future Millionaire 26 writes. And Future Millionaire sent in a anniversary badge celebrating 13 months of membership. Thank you, Future Millionaire, for being a member of the channel for 13 months. Sup, Campea? So when will you visit Florida and how far south will you come? I hear Miami has great weather. So we announced the other day that we are doing our next leg of the movie meetups in November, and it's going to come to Orlando. Just the one stop in Florida. We're going to hit Orlando. We're not going down to Miami. I don't have time. Here's the, I'm going to be honest with you guys. One of the things that makes me want to not do this stuff is how many fucking people cry. Like, I've only got so much time that I'm willing to be away from home, right? And this movie meetup leg that I'm going to be doing is going to take me almost 2 weeks to drive all the way across the country, hit a number of stops, turn around, and drive all the way back. I'm going to be away from home from almost 2 weeks. So, I got to tell you, man, it's so freaking frustrating because we announced the other day that we're going to do not one, but 2 stops in Texas, right? We're going to do Austin and we're going to do Dallas next month. Now, for the record, I got on our community tab and I put up a poll. I said, guys, I've got time to make 2 stops in Texas. Which 2 cities should we do? Should we do Austin, Dallas, Austin, Houston, or Houston, Dallas? Which combination should we do? And by far, the number one result that people voted on the poll was Austin and Dallas. So great. I did Austin and Dallas. And then the other day we announced, guys, on our movie meetup tour, we're going to do Austin, Dallas, Atlanta, and Orlando. And I'm not going to kid. I got at least 6 really angry emails from people saying, F you, like people from Houston, like F you, disrespecting, I'm done with your channel. Like you just gave a middle finger to Houston. And it's like, this is why people don't do things. It's like, I'm doing as much as I can. I'm paying for it all myself. It's all free. I'm not making anybody pay anything for it. I'm spending my own time and my own money to do it. I'm stopping as many places as I can without being away from home for too long. And I was all excited. I thought it would be exciting. We came out, we announced we're going to do these 2 cities. And instead I get shit on by a lot of people because I didn't do their city. I was like, I'm doing what I can. Anyway, I'm not going to lie. Like, literally, Ann and I sat down and I talked about whether we just cancel the rest of the movie meetups. I've loved the movie meetups, but I'm getting as much hate for it. I'm getting as much hate for the cities I'm not going to as much as people who like what we're doing. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It makes there are guys that I wonder why I just do any of this at all. But anyway, yesterday was one of those days. We all have the bad days. Yesterday was one of those bad days. So unfortunately, no, I won't be going to Miami because I don't have time. Now, I'm sure some point, someday, I'll hit Miami, but just not on this leg of the tour. All right. Let's see. Next up, we got Anon, who writes, in your open mic, you made an analogy of Warner Brothers as a dying patient on the operating table. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. In meetings multiple times throughout the last few years. Yeah, the last few years. An important WBD executive has used the same analogy. I've not heard that. It's a very funny coincidence, but you are both right. Yeah. I mean, and we went over the numbers yesterday. That when when Discovery took over Warner Brothers was on its way out the door. It was dead. It was dead. Their reputation had been crashed. Their financial value had crashed. People like Christopher Nolan said F you to them and walked out the door and went over to Universal. Their own production partners like Legendary Pictures sued them. I mean, it was an absolute disastrous mess. And so the analogy I've been using has been the very fact that David Zaslav has kept this company alive is a miracle, is an absolute miracle. And the fact that they're going to now sell for much better than what it was before after its value tanked is also a miracle. So yeah, that's the analogy of the dying patient on the table is what I've been using for a while. All right, next up. Dan the Fan writes, hey, Campea crew. I just saw the movie They Live. The old Rowdy Piper one. All I know from this movie is I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. What else can you tell me about his movie? Was it a box office hit? Is it a classic? I don't believe it was ever a box office hit. But it is a classic. The very fact that, if you got a movie that really a lot of people didn't see, and yet everybody can still talk about today, that's a sure sign that it's a classic. It also had one of the weirdest but coolest fight scenes in any movie ever. And it obviously had the great Rowdy Piper. So, yeah, I would consider it a classic, but no, not, if I remember correctly, I don't think a lot of people went to go see it when it came out. All right, next up, Kareem V98 writes, movies and TV milestone anniversaries this week, October 19th through the 25th. In 2020, 5 years ago, Borat 2. Wow, that was 5 years ago. The Queen's Gambit feels like it just came out 2 years ago. And in 2005, 20 years ago, Doom. That feels right. And 1995, 30 years ago, Mallrats. That feels right too. It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day. We were talking about Kevin Smith. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. And we were talking about how movies like Mallrats and movies like The First Clerks, it's like those movies are really old now. They're really old. And the fact that Mallrats is about 30, that feels about right. All right, next up. Wade writes, Gen V Season 2 officially ended yesterday. All I'll say is, it definitely stuck the landing. It's gotten me absolutely pumped for The Boys season finale, or The Boys finale. Fantastic season overall. My absolute favorite line from The Boys, Daddy's home, Billy Butcher. Yeah, look, I've mentioned this on the show a few times this past couple weeks. I have started on the new season of Gen V. I'm 3 episodes through, but I have fallen behind. Now, I think the first 3 episodes, I think we're off to a strong start, but I can't comment on the rest of the season because I haven't got caught up yet. I'm hoping I can get caught up this week. I'm hoping in this next week or so I'm going to be able to get caught up. So, but yeah, I've been hearing some good things about the finale, so I can't wait to watch it. All right, next up. Australian Jedi writes, so after certain people took issue with Boots on Netflix, the show apparently saw its viewership double in a week. Should Hollywood just make film and TV certain people don't like to save money on marketing? Yeah, you know what they say, like, what is it? All publicity is good publicity? That's not true, by the way, but that is the old saying. The old saying is all publicity is good publicity. Look, I haven't seen Boots. My understanding is Boots is a show based on a memoir book by a true story based on this guy who was gay, but in the closet, I believe, and joined the military with his buddy. And it's about the trials and tribulations of being in the U.S. military while being gay. And I know there's a bunch of shit eaters who are like, somebody who's gay. Yeah, there's that. Whatever. The fucking low lives are out there. It is what it is. But I haven't really heard much about it. I mean, I haven't seen it myself, whatever. But look, here's the bottom line. Movies and TV shows should tell stories about all people, all walks of life, just like movies have done. You're telling movies about people and experiences people have, some common experiences, some uncommon experience. You should all do. And nobody should bring their politics in and be able to tell somebody you can't tell that kind of story. Nobody should be able to come in and say, you shouldn't tell that kind of story because it's got that kind of a person in it. What kind of fucking loser are you? Everybody and if you don't like those kinds of stories, don't watch them. There are stories that get out there that are definitely not for me. So you know what I do about it? Instead of going, boo-hoo, why are you making those? I just don't watch it. I go, hey, I'm glad it's there for somebody else to watch and enjoy. Awesome. Not for me, so I'm not going to watch it, but that's okay. I'm glad if you do. But yeah, so I just think Netflix and studios should continue to just tell stories and not care if there's some ass eaters out there who are like, we don't think you should make movies about those people. Fuck you. Then don't watch it. Let stories get told. Anyway, that's just kind of my thing about that. All right. Next up. Initial writes, these aren't fighting words. I'm just curious. Superman 2025, which is awesome, and Man of Steel, which is still my favorite Superman movie, had the same production budget, but Man of Steel made more money. I always thought of Man of Steel as being a disappointment, but people see the latest Superman as a win. Why? Well, okay, fair question. And again, remember, you know what? Let me bring up the Campea classroom here. I wasn't ready for this because they still got the Warner Brothers. Ignore the title at the top there. This has come up a lot about Man of Steel. Again, there's my boy Henry standing over there. Still my favorite Superman movie. Why is it that a lot of people looked at Man of Steel's results as being disappointing, and yet we look at the results of the 2025 Superman as being an incredible success? The answer to that question is context. It's context. Let me give the thing I know best. Okay, follow along with me. Bear with me, but follow along. Let me give you an analogy. A sports analogy, granted, people hate that, but let's say you have two guys that begin coaching a basketball team. Like one guy starts coaching one basketball team, and guy number 2 coaches another basketball team. And they both start on the same year. So let's say coach number 1. Coach, where did I go? Number 1. There we go. he takes over a team. His team won 100 games and, oh boy, this is not, let me just go here. And try that again, a title last year, and has 4 all-stars on the team. Okay? So let's say last year this team, they won the NBA title, they won 100 games. There's not 100 games in the NBA season, but just follow along with me. The team won 100 games, they won the title, and the team has 4 all-stars, but the coach retired, and so this new coach comes in and takes over. This year, on his first year coaching the team wins 85 games. All right? Are you following along with me? Coach number 1 takes over a team that last year won the title, won 100 games, and had 4 all-stars on it. This year, in his very first year coaching, they win 85 games. Okay. Now let's look at Coach 2. Coach number 2. All right. His team won only 31 games last year, has no all-stars, and a lot of off-court drama and issues. This year, in the coach's first year coaching the team won 65 games. All right. I want you to look at this very closely. Okay? Which coach did the better job coaching? Coach 1 won 85 games, and Coach 2 only won 65 games. But did Coach 1 do a better job coaching? When Coach 1 took over a team that had already won the championship and last year won 100 games and had 4 all-stars on the team. So he won 85 games. But did he do an actual better job than Coach 2, who took over a team that only won 31 games last year, had no all-stars, had a ton of off-court drama, and yet won 65 games, a big improvement over the year before? Let me ask you, did Coach 1 or did Coach 2 do the more notable job? Obviously, Coach 2. Even though Coach 2 didn't win as many games, Coach 2 clearly did more with less. Coach 2 still won more games with less. That's key. That's key. So let me now bring this over into the discussion about Man of Steel, my favorite Superman movie, and Superman. All right? Man of Steel, when it came out, Marvel had the comic book movies as the hottest genre in movies. When Man of Steel came out, remember, Man of Steel came out after Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 had just made $1 billion. The Marvel Cinematic Universe had been around for a while, and it had made comic book movies the #1 hottest thing in the world, right? Man of Steel, Steel was coming off Christopher Nolan's Batman films, considered to be some of the greatest comic book movies of all time, right? And Man of Steel had no baggage of a failed cinematic universe before it to overcome. All right? Man of Steel was coach #1, taking over a team that had already won a championship, that had 4 all-stars, that was in a great position. When Man of Steel came out, comic book movies were at their zenith. They were the hottest, most celebrated things going, thanks to Marvel. They had movies making billions of dollars. The previous DC stuff that had been made cinematically was Christopher Nolan's Batman films. Granted, many years before there was Brandon Routh's Superman Returns, there was that, but that was a lot of years earlier, and I don't think anybody really remembered it or cared about it. But still, when Man of Steel came out, it came out in optimal circumstances. Optimal circumstances. The stage had been set, and they had the greatest superhero of all time, Superman. Okay. Superman 2025, we'll just call it S25. Superman 2025 came out when comic book movies are at their lowest point in over a decade. It was dealing with the baggage of the failed and run into the ground DCEU. And at a time when there are 25%, we were talking about this earlier in the show, fewer people going to the movies than when Man of Steel came out. Whereas when Man of Steel came out, comic book movies at their peak. They were as hot as they were ever going to be. They were the #1 box office juggernaut thing going. It was coming off of Christopher Nolan's Superman films, and a lot more people were going to the movies. When Superman came out, people have been waning on comic book films. The quality of comic book films has been mediocre at best. Some great ones, some terrible ones. The enthusiasm for comic book movies as a result of the mediocrity has been lower than it has been in forever. It was coming off a DCEU whose last 4 films barely would crack $200 million. One of them didn't even crack $200 million. And Superman's coming out at a time when there's nearly 25% fewer people going to the movies than when Man of Steel came out. So, coach number 1 wins 85 games, and coach number 2 only wins 65 games. But coach number 2 everybody's going to look at the job coach number 2 did and say they did a much better job. So I think the reason why people look at my beloved Man of Steel with my man Henry as a disappointment is because of the context. It had everything going for it. It had everything going for it. And yet it just managed to do like 600 and something million dollars, more than Superman. But Superman came out in much less idealistic situation. People's love of comic book movies had waned as a result of the mediocrity. It was dealing with all the baggage of the failed DCEU that came before it. None of that Man of Steel had to deal with. And it came out at a time when 25% less people were going to the movies. And yet it still managed to make over $600 million. So, as somebody who Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie, that's why when people talk about Man of Steel, and by the way, a lot fewer people liked Man of Steel. Man of Steel had much lower ratings than Superman did. Superman had much higher critic ratings, much higher audience ratings than my beloved Man of Steel did. But anyway, that's why when people talk about Man of Steel, they kind of talk about it in terms of it underperforming, where even though it made more at the box office than Superman did overall, they look at Superman and see it as a great success. It's all about the context in which you're doing it. And, you know, as in the analogy where Coach 2 did a much better job with what they had available to them, I think people look at what happened with Superman and said Superman did a much better job given the circumstances it came out in than what Man of Steel did given the idealistic circumstances that it came out in. And again, I say this as somebody who Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie. I think it is the most underappreciated comic book film of all time. Hell, I made a 1 hour long editorial on why Man of Steel is like one of the great comic book movies ever made. But that is why people look at what happened with Superman and said, wow, great success. And yet they look at Man of Steel, which made a few $1,000,000 more than Superman did, as a bit of a disappointment. It's all about context. Anyway, I spent way too much time on that. I'm sorry. But I love talking Man of Steel, and I love talking Superman. So, give me a little bit of a leeway on that if you don't mind. All right. Let's see. Next up. Gavin writes, hey, John, just got engaged. Congratulations, man. Any advice for being married? And thanks for keeping up the great content. Oh, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. I'll leave it to you to decide if this is good advice or bad advice. Okay? It is simply something that was modeled for me by my dad, who was married to my mom right up to the point that she died a couple months ago. And let me tell you what my dad modeled. And again, everybody will have their own thing, but to me, this is the best piece of advice I can give to. I would give different advice if a woman was asking me, and I would give different advice if a couple was asking me. But if you as a guy are asking me, here's the best piece of advice I can give. Take it for what it is, like it, not like it, whatever. What was modeled for me in my life was that if you're a man, and like the majority of people, you're heterosexual, you marry a woman. If you're a man and you get married with the understanding that that woman becomes the top priority of your life. Not your career, not your goals and dreams and ambitions and all this kind of nonsense. That person is now the number one thing of your life. Everything about your life should be modeled about supporting, helping, encouraging. Everything is about that person. I do everything in my life. My job, every decisions I make, to me, is all about what is best for my partner, what is best for my spouse, what is best for Anne. That's always the number one thing in my life. Now, I succeed in some ways and I fail in some ways. I'm human. But that's at least my goal. Those are my ideals. That's my thing. I personally think too many people enter marriage with, I'm still number one, but I'll let this person come along for the ride. To me, marriage is about that person becomes your mission. Your mission is now that person. It's not that I don't tell Anne that she's wrong if I think she's wrong on things. It's not that I become Anne's pushover or anything like that. But Anne is my number one priority in my life. And every decision I make is all about what is best for Anne. It is. And the best advice I can give is look at this person that you've chosen to make your partner in life as not just your partner, but also her happiness, her growth, her security, her joy. These things are all now your life's number one priority. And I haven't always done great with that. But I think the reason Anne and I feel very comfortable saying Anne and I have a great marriage. I think part of it is the reason we have a great marriage. Number one is because she's an incredible spouse and partner. But I think one of the other reasons is because that's my philosophy, is that she's my number one priority. And my best piece of advice to you as a guy getting married is make your partner your number one priority in all things. Their joy, their growth, their development, their security, their well-being. Everything is about them. And I make no apologies that that's my philosophy of life. Anyway, hey guys, listen, there are more questions to get to, but as you can tell, my throat's given out. I'm starting to cough a little bit more. So I think I'm going to have to call it. There are more questions to get to. Don't worry, guys. We'll pick up with the questions where we left off on Monday. So if you've already sent one in, don't worry, we'll get around to it. But I better wrap it up now because I'm going to start coughing a whole bunch more. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here for today's episode of the John Campea Show. Really appreciate you guys being here and choosing to take some of your valuable time and spending it here with us today. Keep your guys' eyes open. I will be doing an open mic this weekend. I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait to see you guys again. That'll do it for me now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.